Dagher Strength is here with Dan Pardi, no other than Dan Pardi. Dan, please tell us who you are and what's Dan's plan today.
Yeah, sure. So I am a researcher at the Department of Neurology and Endocrinology at Leiden University and the Behavioral Sciences Department at Stanford. And I'm also the CEO of a company called Dan's Plan. And we try to simplify a person's daily health practice. And so what that means is we want to identify what are the elements of healthy living. We want to make them as actionable as possible and then use tracking to then let people know if they're actually doing what they think they're doing or what they should do. So we give people feedback, and then the idea is to try to help them stay in a zone of health. So there is an underappreciation for the impact of light across a 24-hour period on our health because it affects our circadian rhythms, and light can also influence cortical activity, so how alert you feel. So when you have low light during the day, like in an office environment, it can actually make you feel sleepy, you can have diminished mood, you can have decreased reaction time, right? And we see this, so some research that my colleagues did at Stanford was on the Concordia research station in Antarctica, where they have basically the only light that they get, because it's 24 hours a day dark outside, is artificial light inside. And what they found is that that artificial light was not powerful enough to anchor their circadian rhythms. And so what we saw was that their circadian rhythms, or these 24-hour rhythms, were shifting. Every day, their melatonin rhythm would start later and later and later. And that would influence then their performance during work, their mood, etc. So they started to give them blue-enriched white light. And that blue is has a very powerful effect on the circadian rhythms, right? So there's obviously a lot of blue light when you're outside, but not necessarily that much blue light when you're under even full spectrum white light. So you can actually buy things like the Go Light from Amazon.com, use that during the day. The best thing to do is try to get outside for probably a half an hour every day at least, because the effects of outside light it's not linear. You get the majority of the benefit earlier when you get outside. So even a little bit of exposure, half an hour, is going to have a very powerful effect to make sure that your rhythms are synchronized. And that's going to help you perform well mentally, physically, etc. The reason why blue light is actually important, I'll say one more thing about it, is that there are these specialized photoreceptors in your eye that are not actually involved in vision. Okay? They do receive light, but they're not involved in vision. They actually will affect something called the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the hypothalamus, which is thought to be your master clock. That's affecting rhythms throughout your whole body. Right? The peak sensitivity of those cells are to blue light, that wavelength. And that's why we want to have a lot of it during the day, right, and not very much of it at night. All right? So if you get a lot of blue light at night, or just normal full spectrum white light, it'll actually, again, pull your rhythms forward. It'll make your melatonin rhythm shift. So when you block that by either wearing goggles or only using dim amber light, then you will start to do something called, you will produce what's called dim light melatonin onset. Right? Melatonin production will happen when those cells are not receiving a very strong signal of blue light. And that keeps your rhythm. So not only does light affect your circadian rhythm, but so does melatonin. All right, so they kind of work in harmony. And so basically what you're trying to do is mimic a slightly more natural existence. So usually when the sun would go down, we would have melatonin production. Now we turn on lights, we play with our iPads, we watch TV, right? We're getting still a lot of blue light, and that causes a lot of sleep problems, a lot of daytime functioning problems, both mental and physical. So that's what we say is try to have smart light rhythms over a 24-hour period. A lot of blue light and outside light during the day, low amber dim light in the evening, and then at night try to keep your environment really dark, because light can actually penetrate translucent eyelids and suppress melatonin production as well. So sleep in a dark room, get a lot of outside light, particularly in the morning, and then in the evening, get these bulbs, get these glasses. I put my glasses on if I'm using technology within 2 to 3 hours of my bedtime. Not just after when the sun goes down. You could do that, but I just don't think that that's going to be a very practical solution for most people during winter months, because what happens is they'll go to bed earlier, and then you'll have this middle of the night arousal and awakening, and then you'll fall asleep again. And so I just try to maintain, I get enough time in bed, so probably trying to get about 8 or 9 hours of bed every night, and then I'll use these glasses 2 or 3 hours before I go to bed.
Now, if I Google melatonin stimulating foods or whatnot, or any like supplements or whatnot, like go-to food if the average person were to open up a fridge that they can consume, or a type of supplement that you recommend? Because they seem to really stay clear of the whole melatonin as like the long-term fix for this issue.
It's actually shown, it was talked about on the panel that exogenous or oral melatonin will suppress internal production, and actually you don't see that. Yeah. So it seems that you might be able to take it, and it's being explored in some clinical trials. I think it's always better to try to go the natural route first. There are foods that do contain melatonin. Cherries, it has the highest concentration. You also find it in bananas and some kind of, it's like port wine actually has a lot of melatonin in it. So cherry juice, actually, if you a glass of that in the evening, is something that some people do to kind of stimulate or to get melatonin into the body. But the light will, wearing the glasses will definitely have a more powerful effect.
Alright, so the takeaway is dark room, wear those amber glasses, control the type of light before you go to sleep, try staying away from your computer and your iPad, and if you have a banana in your fridge, or some tart cherries, or some melatonin, give it a go. Try to keep it as natural as possible. Now Dan, if people want to know more about you and locate you, and you're talking about your infographic that I obviously was very intrigued by, please let us know where we can find that and where people in Toronto, my hometown, can find that.
Nice, yeah. So you can go to dansplan.com, dansplan.com. I encourage everybody to use it. And what we do is create a health zone score where you track certain aspects of lifestyle, and then we let you know if you're basically meeting your daily health goals. And so it's a really nice feedback loop to let you know that you're doing what you'd like to do, because it's easy to have a misperception between what you think you're doing and what you want to be doing, right? Or what you're actually doing.